What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JPZ on the keys in this too. You know what? I'm not even gonna finish it. You should have finished it already if you were real. It's like, jeez, with the video today. Hope you're having a great Saturday morning, whenever you're watching this. You know what I mean? But I saw the good amount of engagement on the Formula One video I did like last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. And I said to myself, before I even really dive any deeper into Formula One, I kind of want to get a baseline knowledge of all the stuff, you know, of all the do's and don'ts, all the ins and outs behind it first before we even get into it, because I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I don't want to be out here you know, especially a lot of these people do reaction videos. They're like, they don't do any type of background research into what they're watching, and they all clueless like, you've seen those videos, bro. I will not be one of those. We do research over here. We look into what we watching over here. I'm not just sitting here, oh wow, oh wow. But leave a like on the video and hit that subscribe button if you're new. Appreciate you, bro. Check out my gaming channel video. I just dropped a Ninja Gaiden video yesterday, so check it out. That video was hilarious. Gaming channel link is down in the description. Check it out.
The most prestigious racing series in the entire world. It's the pinnacle of speed, power, and skill. The most advanced cars on the planet, driven by the most skilled racers, period. The drivers are going 100 miles an hour faster than planes taking off. It's the world's top manufacturers fighting on the most glamorous circuits to see who can build the best race car in the galaxy. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Formula One. In the early 1900s, rich guys were racing their fancy jalopies from town to town around Europe in hastily organized contests called Grand Prix. It was like that part of The Great Gatsby when they go racing and Leonardo DiCaprio. Anyway, World War II happens, blah, 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 you can't race anymore, but it didn't take long for people to start racing after the war ended. In 1947, the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, or FIA, was founded. The FIA immediately created a bunch of racing series centered around Grand Prix style racing, with the top tier called Formula A, which quickly turned into Formula One. The only rule was that the engines couldn't be bigger than 2.5 liters and they had to be naturally aspirated. Besides that, the sky was the limit. These new engines and rules brought new teams to compete with the...
Yeah, I always thought about it. I know I didn't ask the question the last time because I know they have specific engine requirements, and I know they do specific checks because I know it's probably been... I probably have to look into it, but I feel like there would be a case where somebody would try to outfit some different part and try to get some type of edge or something like that, you know?
While the old-timey Gatsby race teams generally had old-timey drivers, newcomers like Lancia and Mercedes had to get drivers of their own. Both companies set out to hire the best available. Lancia hired an Italian, Alberto Ascari, and Mercedes hired Argentinian-born Juan Manuel Fangio. These guys were insane, tearing down backcountry roads wearing nothing but a leather helmet and a crazed grin. They didn't even have seat belts. Fangio and Mercedes were a dominant pair, having won the 1954 and 1955 seasons back to back. But after a horrific accident involving one of its cars at Le Mans, killing 83 spectators, Mercedes decided to abandon motorsport altogether. Almost simultaneously with Mercedes' departure, crashes would also force Lancia out, and sadly take the life of Ascari. Lancia sold all of their Formula One equipment and development to Ferrari and just washed their hands of the entire sport. Ferrari was...
I mean, at this point, you might as well, since your the top dude you recruited to even put yourself in the mix as a racing company, you know, passed away. But as you see now with Mr. Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes-Benz is alive and well in the racing world.
would take the development from Lancia and hire the now jobless Fangio, who would win the 1956 championship. He then left Ferrari for Maserati and won another championship. In 1957, he decided to retire from racing when he was kidnapped by Fidel Castro. Pretty wild stuff. Google it happened. In 1959, the Cooper Racing Team made an innovation that would change racing and cars forever. The team moved the engine from in front of the driver to behind his little butt. This totally changed how the car drove and made it way better. By 1961, every team was using a mid-engine layout in their cars, and they still do today. At the start of the 1967 season, British team Lotus would introduce the Ford Cosworth DFV 3-liter V8 to the world.
See, my thing is, I'm thinking if the engine's in the back, it'll help you when you're trying to like go into turns. Because if it's more weight in the back end, like your car will swing out, like your car will fishtail kind of a little bit more in the back. Because you gotta think about it. If I'm drifting and I got all my weight in the front, like the back end is gonna swing out. Like the front end is just gonna go in too far, and like I'm gonna underturn. But in the back, like I can still control and still get my drive wheels in the front to work. At least I think they're all-wheel drive. At least front-wheel drive. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Powered the now legendary Lotus 49. Lotus had exclusive rights to the engine for 1 year, but it was so good, every team wanted it, and it would go on to power almost every Formula One car for the next decade. Ferrari, being Ferrari, didn't want to use somebody else's engine, so they built their own. Figuring more is more, they tried to combat the V8 with a flat 12. Not only did these things sound amazing, they also made a ton of power. With almost everybody using one of these two engines, smaller teams started using any technological innovation that they could sneak past the rules. Soon, some insanely experimental cars were hitting the grid, including four-wheel drive racers, cars with 6 wheels, and even a car with a fan to suck it to the road through corners. Jessica. The 70s were a perfect balance of rock star attitude and technical innovation. And no two drivers of this period embodied that yin and yang better than Niki Lauda and James Hunt. Lauda was a reserved and meticulous Austrian who drove for Ferrari, and Hunt was a rowdy playboy type, much like myself, who drove for McLaren. Off the track, these two respected each other, but on it, there might never be a fiercer rivalry. Their story is so good that a few years ago, they made a big old Hollywood movie about it. It's called Rush. Also, check out the sequel, Rush More.
I like your nurse's uniform, guy.
These are OR scrubs.
Oh, are they?
In 1977,
my
Lotus
God.
introduced an evolving ground effect aerodynamic kit, which not only increased downforce, but also reduced drag. The Lotus didn't rely on wings pushing the car down, but shaped the bottom of their car like an upside-down airfoil. This essentially made the entire car a wing, with none of the drag. Whatever 70s stuff they were smoking, I want some. I'm just kidding. Pot sucked in the 70s. Ask your grandma. Oh my Lord, please don't use that language in front of me. All good things have come to an end, and the Cosworth engine could not last forever. In 1978, Renault introduced forced induction to the sport. While every team for the past decade had used a naturally aspirated 3-liter engine, the rules also allowed an engine half the size with forced induction. Up until 78, teams had figured that with the technology available at the time, any competitive turbocharged engine would be too laggy, and any supercharged engine would be too inefficient. Renault had recently used turbos at Le Mans and decided to roll the dice and see what a little boost could do for Formula One. And it turns out, a little boost goes a long way. The aging DFF could only muster about 500 horsepower in its most developed form, but Renault's turbo motor was matching that power on its very first outing. Soon, after a bit of development, Renault was making 700 horsepower, and the rest of the constructors began to take notice. While the turbocharged 80s of Formula One only lasted for a few short years.
See, my thing, like you're driving a car that has 700 horsepower that you have to fling around, like the skill that it takes, like I don't even want to. Man, listen. All respect in the world to these dudes who drive these cars for a living, because y'all are different. I don't understand. I respect Formula One racers way better than NASCAR drivers. I don't care. I will say it to the end of the earth. I don't care.
There is no denying that they dominated. The insane power-to-weight ratios meant that drivers achieved speeds and times previously only dreamed of, cementing their names in the history books. Drivers like Ayrton Senna, Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost all made their names racing these turbocharged beasts against each other. FIA introduced a new set of rules in 1987. They stabilized power numbers, reined in development costs, and increased the naturally aspirated engine size to 3.5 liters. When the turbo engine's power numbers still reigned supreme, FIA outright banned the use of turbochargers in 1989. Luckily for Formula One teams, the increase of displacement combined with improvements in engine technology meant that many of these new NA motors were essentially as fast as their turbocharged predecessors, although power could no longer be turned up for qualifying.
Turn up! Ooh.
With these new engines, drivers like Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost continued to set blistering lap times. Further technological developments such as active suspension, semi-auto gearboxes, and traction control not only made these times even faster, but seemed to make the sport safe to a degree only dreamed about in the past. By 1994, F1 had gone almost an entire decade without a death. While there had still been injuries in that time, no one had died, and the sport had a sense of invulnerability about it. This was crushed in a spectacular and horrifying way when at the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix, 3 drivers were involved in terrible crashes, 2 of which were fatal. The most dramatic of these crashes, and the one with the longest lasting impact, was that of the legendary driver Ayrton Senna, who at the time of his death was a triple world champion and arguably the best F1 driver of all time. His death would prompt a number of rule changes, all aimed at slowing down the cars. The most notable changes were the reduction of engine size back to 3 liters and the addition of a wooden plank on the underside of the car. When the car is forced down by aerodynamic forces, the plank wears away as it rubs against the ground. They measure it at the end of the race, and if it's worn down too low, then that car's aerodynamics are illegal. This practice continues to this day. Now that means...
Oh, wow, that is smart. That is so smart. Like, that is like, just the amount of thinking. And I was thinking about this, said traction control. Like, do you know how, like, like, I've been in cars that have traction control on. I'm trying to take a corner, and, like, the car will, like, literally just fight me to make a corner. Think about, you're bending a corner at 160 miles an hour. Think about how hard that traction control has to work to not, like, prevent you from fishtailing. That thing has to like hold you in place.
Means that these $1 million race cars made of carbon fiber with more fins than a lionfish, capable of driving upside down in a tunnel. They all have a piece of wood strapped to the bottom. Following the tragic 1994 season, the Formula One grid was left scrambling as they tried to conform to the FIA's flurry of new rules. Over the next 10 years, improvement became the name of the game rather than innovation. The new 3-liter requirement lent itself to a V10 engine layout, balancing power and fuel consumption. Out of this scramble, new names would appear, and Michael Schumacher won his first championship in 1994. This guy won so much that people started getting bored. It seemed like the German national anthem was Formula One's theme song. For instance, in 2004, Schumacher took first in 13 out of 18 races, and he got second twice. You fucking kidding me? Dude didn't podium 3 times. I bet he partied so hard that year.
Oh my God, you podiumed 15 out of 18 times. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro.
This earned him his 7th world championship, finally breaking Fangio's record that lasted 47 years. But it was becoming too expensive for the smaller teams to compete in the sport. So in 2006, the FIA mandated the switch to cheaper, smaller V8s, which also sounded sick. And the cost cutting came just in time. Because in 2008, a global market recession hit F1 like a wrecking ball.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
Strangely, many smaller teams were able to weather the storm, while almost every major manufacturer, such as Jaguar and BMW, were forced to leave the series.
It's probably because they already had a whole bunch of stake, and like those losses hit these big companies bigger. They hit them more than those little small upstart companies. But I think doesn't Lewis Hamilton have 8 championships? Doesn't he have 8 of them?
Is due to the fact that while racing was the lifeblood of many of these small teams, that wasn't the case for big manufacturers. Following the slow bounce back,
they were doing other stuff. Like, you think Jaguar don't care about racing? BMW don't care about racing. They just want expensive crap cars. They just want. Listen, I don't care what nobody says, bro. Beamers suck. Expensive money pits. They're good-looking money pits. Same thing with Jaguar. They're good-looking money pits. Like, you're going to spend more money fixing the car than you are, like, you're going to spend more money fixing the car than what you bought to get it. You know what I'm saying? You pay $8,000 to have your oil change be $600. Be $400, $300-$400 for oil change. All them parts messing up. Everything is electrical now, so now you gotta go to a dealership to get it fixed. You can't just go to a junkyard and get a part. You gotta go to the dealership, and they're gonna charge you an arm and a leg.
Of the global economy, Formula One would once again initiate rule changes. Beginning in 2014, Formula One again looked to turbocharging, as FIA had mandated that all cars must run a 1.6-liter V6 hybrid turbocharged engine, which could not use more than 100 kilograms of fuel in an hour. These engines produced a consistent 600 horsepower, but could boost their output at certain times using an onboard system called KERS, which recovers energy otherwise wasted under braking. When boosted, these engines could make 750 horsepower just like their predecessors. And it is these engines which are on the grid for this 2018 season. So what's new for this year? Drivers are now protected by a halo, a bar that shields their heads from large pieces of debris like tires in the event of a crash.
Wait, the KERS, it reuses the power that they lost from breaking the car. Like the initial like energy, like is it like building up using? Is it like keeping all that potential energy and using it? Like,
some people say the halo takes away from the open cockpit nature of F1. These people are turds.
Yes, you want these people to be
Lewis
safe.
Hamilton is the current champ driving for Mercedes. Ferrari's close behind though, with Red Bull right behind them if they can figure their car out. F1 has such a Ferrari's close behind though, with Lewis Hamilton is the current champ driving
The 7-8-time champ.
for Mercedes. Ferrari's close behind though, with Red Bull right behind them if they.
Well, Red Bull is second now because Red Bull Verstappen is now on top now because Red Bull just won. But that's a major victory for I thought about it. That's a major victory for Red Bull, like a random corporation known for making energy drinks, just beat one of built a better race car. Maybe not a better race car, a race car that won. They developed a race car that beat one of the biggest auto manufacturers in the world. Like, you have to give Red Bull something for that. Regardless of how you felt of how Max, if you felt that he was dirty or he did some, if he was cheat, if he, played foul, they
can figure their car out. F1 has such a long and rich history that there's no way that we can talk about everything in one episode. Formula One has always been the pinnacle of motorsport. It's inspired generations of rivalries and brought generations of people together. It's given us heroes and it's taken them away. There really is nothing like it. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Formula One. Hit that subscribe button. The more subs we get, the more cool stuff we can do with you guys. The season started last weekend. What do you guys think? Who's gonna do it? Follow me on Instagram at James Pumphrey. Follow Donut on Instagram at Donut Media.
All right, I'm gonna have to look more into those engines because I'm learning about like cars more, but like I want to get more into them, so I'm gonna have to learn more about all these engines and how these engines work, because I know naturally aspirated means just like it's just sucking in air. No, the turbocharger is what sucks in air. Naturally aspirated means there's no turbocharger. I know that. Like, I didn't know about the 1.6 liter turbo V612. See, I will have to learn more about that. But this is nice. This is a very good informational video. You know what I'm saying? This is a good start to what I hope to be a lot more videos about Formula One and anything motorsport related. Because I like switching it up. You know what I'm saying? Because why not? Man, speaking of sports, man, Anthony Joshua lost again? I mean, but Usyk is really good, but I'm just saying that man lost again. I mean, nothing wrong with it. Everybody loses. But thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. So don't forget to turn on my post notifications if you haven't already. Check out my YouTube channel. My gaming channel is in the description down below. I appreciate you. Discord too. I'm out. Peace.